Hi, I'm Dr. Heather Hirsch and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're talking about how to know if you're having a hot flash. Now, it seems as though that should be pretty obvious, but being that I've seen patients for the last decade, I can tell you that not all women experience hot flashes in general, and not all women experiences hot flashes the same. So if you just kind of Googled, am I having a hot flash, or how do I know if I'm having a hot flash, you've landed on a great video. If this is interesting to you, then stick around. Now, one of the reasons that I feel like it's not so obvious to know if you're having a hot flash is truly because we still don't really know exactly what happens in a hot flash or during a hot flash. Now, the traditional hot flash, if there is one, is sort of this feeling of warmth that either starts in your belly or even sometimes in your thighs or your lower legs, and it comes up like a wave and it comes to your head, and you might feel like, you're sweating or your hair gets damp, and then there's sort of this decrescendo after the crescendo of that flush. But that is not how everyone experiences a hot flash. Now, what even happens during a hot flash? Again, truthfully, we are not exactly sure. We do think that there is a vasoconstriction of the blood vessels and then a release or dilation of those blood vessels. We also know that the core body temperature control mechanism is in the hypothalamus of our brain. And there are cells that are constantly signaling to our body about what our core temperature is, what it should be, and how our body should respond if it's changing very quickly. Now, let me give you a really good example. If you're going from a hot shower and you're opening the door and you're getting out of that hot shower, your body temperature is changing very quickly, instantaneously, within milliseconds. But what happens during a hot flash is that as we lose estrogen, I know why estrogen is involved is one of the things that drives all women crazy, because we lose estrogen through the perimenopause to menopause transition. But estrogen is a key signal in those cells in our brain telling our body to, within milliseconds, change our core body temperature. And these cells detect that change from a really hot shower to getting out to room temperature. With a decline in estrogen, because estrogen plays this critical role, we lose this ability to change our core body temperature very, very quickly. This is a reason why we previously may have always felt like we were the cold person in the office, or could wear sweaters, or didn't wake up in the middle of the night due to a subtle change in temperature, but now we do. If you've gotten to this point in the video so far, who am I? I'm Dr. Heather Hirsch. I'm a menopause expert. I now have a private telemedicine practice that is growing and expanding. If you'd love to work with me or one of the clinicians on my team, check the links in the description bar below. If you're not there yet, I have amazing resources for you, including my book, Unlock Your Menopause Type. And if you're a clinician, I also teach providers how to manage and prescribe HRT with confidence. So this dysregulation in this very fast ability to change our core body temperature does not always look the same for each woman. So here are some examples of the wide range of how hot flashes can be experienced. As I mentioned, some women will have that traditional flushing of that heat wave that goes all the way up to their head and then goes back down. Some women will just have this sense of feeling hot more, what we kind of call heat intolerance. So maybe they can't really wear sweaters anymore, or they're definitely having to dress in layers because all of a sudden they can feel really hot, and it can sort of feel suffocating. And that can be a sense of that temperature dysregulation that's not that traditional flashing. Some women just notice that they used to always be cold and now they're not. Even something as subtle as that could be your body's way of temperature irregulation, which is AKA a hot flash. And some women will have more nighttime symptoms. What this means is tossing and turning at night, or waking up sweaty at night, or waking up shivering but drenched at night. These are all nighttime symptoms of these hot flashes, that you're feeling different than how it's typically described in movies, that traditional up and down, you're feeling it differently. Now, as I mentioned before in my previous example of that change in ambient temperature, getting out of a hot shower, stepping out of it, Another thing here that's very, very common is at night when you're sleeping, even the warmth of a partner next to you or a gentle rustling can really cause a change in ambient temperature that your body cannot auto-regulate as easily as it would. So you might all of a sudden be waking up or tossing and turning, and that could be your body's way really having a hot flash. Now, it's also important to know that not all women will experience hot flashes as a part of their perimenopause to menopause journey. And actually, I think we do a huge disservice when we distill perimenopause and menopause to just the experience of hot flashes. There is so many other symptoms that women can experience, and they all have different severities of affecting a woman's quality of life. That if you don't have hot flashes, this could also be a huge disservice because it can be a reason that women don't associate their symptoms with the hormonal fluctuation through the whole transition. Now, this is really important when it comes to considering treatment for menopause because hormone replacement therapy is the most efficacious and it is FDA approved to treat menopausal symptoms. The problem here is that FDA approval for HRT includes the four following things: hot flashes, night sweats, vaginal dryness, and osteopenia. But we know that there are many other symptoms of peri and menopause like brain fog, mood changes, anxiety, sleep disturbances, joint aches and pains, sexual health changes. The list goes on and on and on. But if you now know that a hot flash doesn't have to be that up and down wave and that your experience is not devalued if you're not having hot flashes, this could be really empowering so that you know you are still experiencing perimenopause and menopause with or without those treacherous hot flashes, and you still should be taken extremely seriously when bringing up your symptoms and your concerns with your doctor, and particularly if you are thinking about hormone replacement therapy. Now, while we're on the topic of hot flashes, something really important happened in 2020. The American Heart Association put out a statement that said menopause should be considered an independent risk factor for cardiovascular disease. And this is because we know estrogen is actually really good for the heart. Now, why is that? Estrogen is actually a vasodilator. Estrogen releases a chemical called nitric oxide, and nitric oxide helps to dilate blood vessels. Dilation of blood vessels is really important because that is how you get good blood flow through the coronary vessels, and good blood flow through the heart equals a healthier heart. And as we lose estrogen, therefore, that is in itself the risk factor for an increase in cardiovascular disease, is not as having as good blood flow. Now, hormone therapy is not FDA approved to reduce the risk of cardiovascular disease. However, in the Women's Health Initiative, women who started hormone therapy within 10 years from menopause had reductions in cardiovascular disease, reductions in heart attacks, and lived longer, with cardiovascular disease being the leading cause of death in women. We also know that long-standing and untreated hot flashes, those obvious hot flashes that go up and down, can increase your risk for cardiovascular disease. And that makes sense because if we believe that part of the underlying physiology of a hot flash is those vessels squeezing and then releasing and then squeezing and then releasing, thinking about all of those vascular changes and that vasoconstriction around your heart, you can actually easily see why not treating your hot flashes actually could be more dangerous than treating them. In fact, I'm going to go so far as to say not treating your hot flashes is going to be a big step backwards in your health, and you absolutely should be offered treatment for hot flashes. And of course, remember, the first line treatment and the most effective treatment for hot flashes is hormone therapy, right? Replacing estrogen, vasodilator, that's going to help to ease that stress on the heart. I hope you found this video so helpful in first explaining what are the different experiences women have when it comes to hot flashes. What if you're not having the traditional hot flash? What even is a hot flash? What does it mean? Is it important for your overall health? What can be done about it? If you're feeling stuck or frustrated with your current provider, I would love to see you in my clinic. Again, links for all of that are down below. We are going to get you helped, get you thriving, get you started, and get you confident about how to ease any type of symptoms through the menopause transition.